Hey guys, this is Red and Blue, and today we are back to debrief PSG's win 3-0 against Metz at home yesterday in Ligue 1. We are back on top of the table. We did a very wide turnover in our players. We still won 3-0. The sky is blue, the birds are singing. Everything is looking good, so let's talk about that. 3-0. Yeah, like it's hard. It's not hard, but like we played against a team that's at bottom of Ligue 1, who hasn't won since early November. And so I think, at home, even with a lot of substitute getting a start, there wasn't really a doubt in my mind that this is the kind of result that we were likely to get. So it's a bit of an as expected, except this season, let's be honest, nothing has ever been easy for this PSG team. So I think getting an as expected against a lower ranked team with a lot of our substitutes playing, getting to make the game easy for ourselves in terms of, not only the scoreline, but the way the game unfolded, it's a real positive result and a positive evening. So if you haven't seen the game, Zaïre-Emery opens the scoreline on the 4th minute, like very, very early in the first half. Barcola scored the second one off of a corner kick in the extra time of the first half, so like 45th plus 1 or something like this. And then Gonzalo Ramos scored the third on the 75th or so. And first, I'm going to say it because I love saying it, but damn, like, go back and look at my preview, and I called it exactly right. So I hope some of you put some money on it because God knows I had it. You're lucky I have a lot of things to do today, so I couldn't like cut off the extract just to show it. But yeah, I think my prediction was pretty spot on. And yeah, I think it's great because I think in a game like this, the danger is that the clock starts ticking, the minutes pass, you miss one opportunity, two opportunities, the goalkeeper gets lit up a little bit, gets on fire a little bit, and all of a sudden you end up at the 60th minute and it's 0-0, and there's pressure. In these games, that was never the case. We scored the first goal, like I said, like after the 4th minute, and it never looked at any point like Metz at what it took to really create problems for us. And I think we made the game easy for ourselves and took advantage by playing a somewhat easy game. I don't think we rose the level a lot. I think most of the second half was played with not complacency, because at this level, if we had been complacent, we would have conceded, but not really giving it our 110%. The good news is that I think tactically, there's not a lot of learning, so there's a couple of points which I think are interesting, but I think like the better part of it is in terms of the individual performances, and a lot of our substitutes who are showing that, despite a lot of criticism that you can push their way, like the Zabarnyi and Beraldo and Lucas Hernandez, Gonzalo Ramos, like at that level, it's more than enough to be able to dominate those games, especially when you move them with a couple of first team players, and so that's a real positive. But let's do things in order. First, tactically, like I said, not a lot to take away because we're not going to be doing a big tactical experiment with a team that's 70% substitutes. At the same time, the couple of things that I liked the defense, and I think having one of our fullback who's actually more of a central defender makes it a lot easier and a lot clearer in terms of who does what and how things get organized. Reality is, when we've got both Nuno Mendes and Hakimi or Zaïre-Emery on the right, they need to coordinate in terms of who moves forward, who stays back, which one of the midfielders comes to cover. And we've seen this season that it can create trouble for us if the team that we're facing is fast enough on the breakaway and can transition and find space at the back of our fullbacks. It's been one of the tactical things that have been a thorn in our side for the season. And I think, having Lucas Hernandez there, who's not very offensive-minded, and at this level knows how to close down shop on the left flank of our defense, means that Hakimi had a lot of freedom, which he really took advantage of. And I think overall, the team looked better balanced. Even if the opposition was pretty weak, ultimately, like I said, it never felt like they were going to be able to create trouble. Even if, to their credit, Metz did really try to play and did really try to push us back. But yeah, they didn't manage to create enough to have those chances. So that was one that I thought was interesting. And then the second one I thought was in midfield. And it kind of echoes what I said earlier on a couple of games debrief, which is, I think, our midfield is a lot better organized with one of our more physical and defensive-minded midfielder at the base of midfield, and more creative juice with the two midfielders who are further up the pitch. So I think I spoke about this after the game against Monaco, or against Rennes, maybe against Rennes. But yeah, I think, having Zaïre-Emery there, and it could have been João Neves, I think would have done an equally good job, would in the long term maybe be better than having Vitinha if we allow Vitinha to be further up the pitch. I think, Dro and Kang-in Lee as this line of creative midfielders who can also start handle a press, who can get the ball back, who can do it all. I think it's a very powerful way of looking at our midfield, and I hope that's something that Luis Enrique has noted. So those were kind of the two quick tactical things. In terms of individual performances, I kind of called out a few players. Warren Zaïre-Emery, man of the match, no question. He turns in a major performance. Really, his first half is high level. And I was looking at this and honestly thinking, how can we afford to not have Warren Zaïre-Emery not only be part of the French team in the World Cup, but be part of the starting 11 in the French team in the World Cup? Because when he's at this level, when with the ground he can cover, with the physical impact that he can bring, with the tactical intelligence, and with his qualities of passing and projection, yeah, there's really not that many French midfielders anywhere in the world that I take over Warren Zaïre-Emery at the moment. So that's really saying something. He's back on top after a shady bit of last season. And yet, to all of the people who criticized Warren Zaïre-Emery when he was down, I hope you're watching. I hope you're learning. I hope you're sitting down, because yeah, man, 19 years old. And if you compare, so for example, I was thinking you compare with João Hernandez, who's also he's had his first start with PSG in this game. He has a good performance. He's definitely showing promise. Technically, he's so gifted. Tactically, he's so smart. He sees the game. He has such high football IQ. But when you see the level of impact that a Warren Zaïre-Emery brings, the physical development and the physicality of a Warren Zaïre-Emery compared to João, with only 1 year older, is only 1 year older. It's leaps and bounds ahead. It looks like he's a 26-year-old player who's been playing pro for nearly 10 years, versus João, who's fresh off of an academy. So yeah, it's very, very impressive. And I think this year, in the end, if we manage to get any major trophies, we will have to thank Warren Zaïre-Emery a lot for what he did on the right, covering for Hakimi, and now for what he's going to be doing in midfield, clearly. So that was one. In terms of other really good performances, so like I said, the defense, typically we look at all of them with really a little bit of fear most of the time. Lucas Hernandez, Beraldo, and Zabarnyi, all of them really pulled their weight today and had good games, solid games. Like I said, Hernandez really closed down the left side of defense. Didn't contribute as much, obviously, as a Nuno Mendes going forward. Even if he still manages to get the assist for the third goal on Ramos, he gets the ball back very, very high on the pitch. So really some impact there. Beraldo, it's funny because you like Beraldo, we know his main strength is in his passing and his distribution. And this time, it's actually like what was maybe the weaker part of his game. He really brought in a lot of physical impact against Diarra, who's, we say this Metz team is at the bottom of Ligue and so on, but like their forward is still the starting forward for Senegal, who just won AFCON. So it's not a team of nothing. So he had like a relatively serious customer opposite him, and he managed to completely outmuscle him, which was frankly like relatively impressive for Beraldo. So a really good performance for him. And then Zabarnyi next to him, it's the other side of the coin. It's like Zabarnyi, typically we think, he's going to be like the physical impact kind of defender. And this time, his passing and distribution was actually what was best in his game. So solid game for him as well, and very reassuring. And finally, the fourth one in defense, Hakimi. He's like, for me, the second man of the match just after Zaïre-Emery. He covered a lot of ground. We kind of like, he started looking like the real Hakimi, covering a lot of ground, running up and down on the right flank, going into a number 9 position sometimes, folding into midfield. It's like he's everywhere. He covers a lot of ground. He's always in the right place at the right time. So the very first goal, like the Doué goal at the 4th minute, it's funny because Hakimi and Doué end up like in exactly the same spot, making the same, calling for the ball in the same way. And if Doué isn't there, Hakimi is the one who's running with it and scoring the goal. No doubt of that. So it felt like vintage Hakimi of last season, of being able to close down the right flank of defense, but also like really be a major contributor in terms of offensive production on the right side and even in the middle. So very, very exciting to see and very reassuring for the games ahead. Beyond that, first game as a starter, like I said, for Dro, I think like I said it, like I think he shows a lot of promise. I think he has a lot of development left to do, but great to see, and hopefully it gives him a sort of benchmark that he should be aiming for in terms of the work that he needs to do. Kang-in Lee for 60 minutes or so, very good game for him. He's really like he's having a really strong season, and it's like every time he's on the pitch, at the end of it, you kind of wish you could see more of it. So that's a really good sign, and I think in terms of depth player in our squad right now, it's funny because Kang-in Lee, like you can definitely rely on him, and that was not always the case. So that's great to see. Offensively, Doué had a good first half, not as good obviously as his game against Monaco, but still solid. He came off at halftime, maybe with a little bit of a knock. Didn't really look like much, and everyone was very positive in the post-game interviews. He even came and did the interview with Ligue 1 Plus at the end of the game. So no massive worry. We'll have to see in the next few days what kind of medical news we get from PSG. Barcola, same as always. I think he was like very good at provoking, very good at dribbling, very good at one-on-one. He manages to score a goal, so can't really like fault him for that. Literally, like probably the easiest goal he's ever scored in his career. Ramos passes the ball back to him after a goalkeeper stop on a corner kick, and so he's literally like getting a header unopposed, like 2 meters away from the goal line. So a pretty easy one, but he still manages to score it. It's actually interesting because we don't say this enough about Barcola, but he's got a real strength in terms of his ability to play with his head and his headers and so on. So he scores a goal with that, and I think that's quite positive to see because it is a strong point of him that we don't always get to see that much. So good game for him. Ramos, as always with Ramos, he has a horrible game for 75 minutes, and then on the 76, he scores a wonderful goal. And ultimately, like if he scores a goal, I'm fine with it. That's what we're asking for him as number 9. And Safonov, just so I can wrap everything up, didn't really have much to do. Not super reassuring. His distribution was okay, but I think with Zender, I don't want to restart the debate of Chevalier versus Safonov, because right now, like, Safonov is more reassuring, is better than Chevalier. At least he's less mistake prone than Chevalier. But yeah, like, long term is really not at the level that we need, man. So like I have a hard time seeing how like this doesn't end up costing us something when the money time comes. That's where I'm worried, because I think so far like there hasn't been any major trouble and so on. But what happens when we're facing Bayern, or we're facing Arsenal, or we're facing Chelsea, and like there's some real firepower opposite team? I'm really not so sure. But anyway, we'll see when we get to that. For now, we did it. We cleaned the Metz, which is really what we were hoping for. 3-0. We're back on top of Ligue 1. We can focus on our Monaco game and get qualified in the Champions League as well. So happy days. The sky is blue, the birds are singing. So let me know in the comment what you thought of the game. What's your analysis of it? How are you feeling after it? Are you feeling better? And, as always, if you made it this far, please drop a like. Massively helps the videos. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. Hit the bell to get notified. And don't forget, as always, ici c'est Paris!